Good morning, everyone. It's Mary. It's time for another episode of the Monday Morning Leadership Bite. And I want to talk about responsibility. You might be saying, wait a minute, Mary, haven't we talked about that? Yes, we have talked about that before, but I'm going to take a little different spin on it. Recently, I had listened to a video of a gentleman named Richard Pinnell. Richard Pinnell is a U.S. veteran. He's an Army vet from the Vietnam War. And he actually does a class, does some talks, but specifically this was one he gave at LEAD, which is a seminar that was done back in 2015. And he talked about responsibility, and I thought it was very interesting, so I want to get this right. He said that responsibility was actually made up of two words, response and ability. That responsibility may be thrust upon us, it may not. It may be part of the job description, it may not. It may be something you signed up for, it may not. But great leaders are responsible. Great leaders have the ability to respond. So he talked about that we all have a list of abilities. And given those abilities, then what would be your response to a specific situation? So I start thinking about that. And I'm going to take it a step further. I think great leaders who choose to take responsibility also build trust with those around them. Because here's the thing, when you take responsibility, there's an action to it. You say, you know what, no more, I'm going to take care of this, the buck stops with me. Now, we also confuse accountability with responsibility. Accountability is merely the I'm the one who has to answer for the outcome. And it's passive. So I'm accountable for these things, but am I responsible for them? Am I the person who has to get it done? Responsibility is a willingness to accept and take ownership of whatever is going to happen, and you're the one who's going to deal with it, and therefore it's more active to me. And that's just my take on it. They're very similar, but there is a difference between accountability and responsibility. So here's the thing. If you're going to take responsibility, the rub is you have to be a little tough-minded, because you're basically saying there is a problem and I own it. And I'm not going to shift blame. I'm not going to shirk my responsibilities. I'm not going to try to give it to someone else or half take it or co-own it or any of that. You're saying, no, I own it and I'm the one who's going to deal with it. So therefore, you have to be very tough-minded on that specific issue and stand firm, because not everyone might see it the same way you do. I hear people tell me that they don't have a lot of authority to get something done, or who are they, just one person? And I think, yeah, you are one person. How many one persons do we know that took on the responsibility of some cause, of some injustice, of some concern that they had, and they dealt with it? So being one person is nothing. As a leader, often you are the one-person band leading the charge, and hopefully one day you'll look back and you'll see people following you. So there's 4 things to consider when you take responsibility. One, it's not about you, it's about everyone else. When you take the responsibility, you're not taking on the glory for yourself. You're doing it for everyone else's benefit. Number 2, remember that people are smart and they're paying attention. So when you deflect or give half-truths or sort of kind of take responsibility but then shove it off on someone else and shift the blame, people notice that. And they'll may say, you know what, I'll go through it, but next time I'm going to watch myself because this person really didn't back me up. They didn't take ownership of it. And so when you do that, make sure you acknowledge what's going on, you own it, and then you are going to be the one who's going to take action with it. Number 3, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. I did talk about this in a previous episode, that we can sit and try to figure out whose fault it is and who has the blame for where the situation we're in. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how we got there. We're there now, and now we need to do something with it. So you own it, you deal with it. Okay. Number 4, you move on. So once you own it, once you deal with it, once you fix it or resolve it or do whatever you need to do in that particular situation, you move on. Don't look for praise, don't look for glory, don't look for the pat on the back, don't look for the parade. You say, you know what, it was my responsibility to do it. You did it, and that's on. You move on. There's another problem to be resolved. And great leaders don't look for the accolades. Great leaders say, oftentimes will say, it wasn't something I set out to do to seek any type of pat on the back. It did it because it needed to be done. So here's my action for you this week. I want you to take inventory of all of your abilities. Do you have the ability to talk, to write letters, to do a video, to go door to door, to relate to someone, to be kind, to open a door, to pick someone up, to cook a dinner, to make something? What are your abilities? Take a list of that. I think we often feel as if we don't have the ability to do something when we do. We have tons of abilities, tons of God-given abilities that were gifts that were put upon us that we can do. Take inventory of that. And then second, what are the things that are in the world that are upsetting you right now? What concerns do you have? What's going on in your community? What's going on in your family? What's going on at work that you say, you know what? I want to do something about that. Something that you're really passionate about, something you can really stand firm in. And then you're simply going to say, what is your response? Given your inventory of abilities, given that the situations that you think need to be resolved, what is your response? You have the ability. Now, what is your response to that situation? How do you take on more responsibility and also become a great leader while you're doing it? So there you go. That is this week's Monday Morning Leadership Bite. I thank you for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this video, like the video, comment if you've done something later on this week and you want to come back and probably comment of how this worked for you. And please, someone needs to hear this message. So please share it. So that has been the Monday Morning. See you next week.